Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Sunday Talks. I am your host, Prachi Goyal, and with me is my co host, Vaibhav Kulkarni. Today, we have an amazing guest from the world of front end development and UI design. Joining us is Akshay Agarwal, a front end developer with over 13 years of experience. Akshay is currently technical lead at Ivy. His expertise covers performance optimization, server side rendering, and advanced JavaScript libraries. Apart from his work, he is passionate musician with a keen interest in playing piano. Today, we will explore about his journey, insights, and about front-end development, along with the thoughts on the skill development. So, welcome to the podcast, Akshay.
Thank you so much, Prachi and Weber, for having me and for the warm welcome. I don't know when I did all of that, what you just mentioned, but feels great to be here and feels a little bit overwhelming that, okay, there is so much to be mentioned in my introduction.
Right. I think हम लोग अभी तक ये सब कुछ resume पे पढ़ते आए हैं and then suddenly it starts talking so it feels different. I know. So great. But then I think एक context set कर दे सबके लिए I guess कि when it started आपका hometown कहाँ है and you know what education you did, very quickly a recap kind of thing for understanding.
Yeah, I think एक चीज है जो मैं हमेशा I ask everyone to avoid mentioning in my introduction is I built my first software app back in 2001. एंड ये मैं इसीलिए मना करता हूँ लोगों को मेंशन करने बिकॉज अदरवाइज पीपल थिंक आई एम वेरी ओल्ड और दे थिंक दैट आई एम फ्रॉम वाइट हैट जूनियर एंड दोनों में से दो कोई भी बात सच नहीं है. So it was just that back then my mom introduced me to this web designing course and I just picked up interest in it and was fortunate and lucky enough to work on my first web app back then. This was in Mumbai and all of my education has happened in Mumbai, and that experience motivated me so much that I was fortunate enough to pursue this as a career and then finally be where I am today in my position as a UI lead. So yeah, I think वो manifestation था उस time का जो आज kind of पूरा हुआ है.
I think this is very rare कि जिसको मतलब बचपन से कोई चीज पसंद आई है he is pursuing in career. I think that's very rare, like people लोगों के साथ नहीं होता है, but I think I guess you are very fortunate that आपको एक चीज पसंद है and you build career in that, so kudos on that.
Exactly. Even I was about to say this. People start thinking that I will do this, but ultimately over the time period, their skills keep on changing, or otherwise, even for the fact their interests keep on changing. So it's great to hear that you have thought about, okay, I will be in this particular field, and you are in that field, and obviously you are excelling in it.
Yeah, I think parallel interests bhi the, like as you guys know that I've also been into music. I also auditioned for Indian Idol, but then yeah, I dropped out because in that same year I was giving my entrance exam for engineering and didn't have time to continue with that. So that's when I thought, okay, no, I have to prioritize one thing, and then I chose my career over that. Yeah, but someday है aspiration की एक album भी launch करना है, देखते हैं.
And when this happened?
This was way back in 2007. When I think 2007 March or April वाला जो auditions था वो मेरे college में ही होता था. So I'm from Thakur College, Kandivali in Mumbai. And it was like a hot destination for like lot of music show auditions and everything, and I just happened to be at the right time and right place, and मैंने सोचा चलो दे देते हैं. So was fun. First round हुआ, but then I had to appear for my exams and preparation काफी सारी बची थी, so I thought okay, इसको side में रखते हैं and let's prioritize career.
Great. So I think it's very rare combination. I don't know, but I think combination आपका ऐसा है कि आपको म्यूजिक मतलब आर्ट भी पसंद है, somewhere also you have UI UX भी थोड़ा सा think आर्ट के अंदर ही आता है. So it seems to me कि you are a very artistic person. I don't know, but this is my assumption. But then इसकी शुरुआत कहाँ से हुई? Like I believe you must have done computer engineering or IT something, and then how you went from there to getting into specifically front end designing.
Yeah. So, the first thing, I think you're right. Art, does play a role into a lot of things that we do, and maybe also एक वो जो lateral thinking वाला एक concept है ना, I think वो apply होता है. Like if you are interested in one aspect and if you pursue it thoroughly, it definitely has an impact on what you do otherwise as well. Like अगर आपका कोई और parallel interest है तो there is definitely inspiration that you kind of pick up from both the worlds, and that's what something I think मेरे साथ भी हुआ. At a very young age I also started learning the piano and being involved in music, and then huh, if you are pure pursuing music, it takes a lot of concentration and dedication to learn any single instrument or to perfect it basically. And UI development या web development के साथ में भी same है. It's like learning an entirely new language, and you have to like concentrate a lot on the basics, the fundamentals of programming, to be able to like build on top of that and finally be able to do something with it. So I think the aspect of focusing on a particular topic, and then also concentrating and अंडरस्टैंडिंग द बेसिक्स वेल. जैसे आप म्यूजिक में भी जानते हो कि जो सरगम है, सारेगामा पाधा नीसा, राइट, वो जिसने परफेक्ट कर लिया वो आगे कुछ भी कर सकता है. वैसे ही विद सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोग्रामिंग एज वेल, राइट, जिसने बेसिक्स कर लिया अच्छे से, रिगार्डलेस ऑफ वट एवर लैंग्वेज कम्स इन 2040 और 2050, आप पिक कर लोगे, आप सीख लोगे.
So now I would like to know, I am not from that background, right? I don't know anything about front-end development, and that is the reason today I am very much excited that I will be getting so many insights out of this particular podcast. So as a front-end developer, which you are right now, what should I learn? Like if I am a totally layman person about it, what should I learn?
So I think there are two aspects to this question. If you would like to learn front-end development just as a hobby, or let's say if you are someone from outside the industry who is interested to build their own website or e-commerce platform, right, just for जैसे अगर आप मार्केटिंग से हो एंड या अगर आपको कोई बिजनेस चलाना है बट उसके लिए वेबसाइट आपको खुद से बनानी है या ट्राई करनी है बनाने, the easiest thing you could do is build an account on something like wix.com or wordpress.com. There are like tons of websites out there that can help you to just drag and drop the features you want and build your website straight out of them. So that will be quicker, faster, and maybe it will be cheaper as well as compared to getting your website built from a team of developers. But then if you want a pretty matured solution, maybe, or a solution that is built by the defined processes of the software industry, yeah, then in that case you can approach a team of developers as well. But अगर आप software में एक career बनाना चाह रहे हो, in that case I would say, yeah, there is no good time or bad time to enter the industry. Again, I would say that the focus should be on the basics. So I would say start with learning the basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. These are the pillars of any good website design and any good web application, I must say. So if you're good with the basics, then building onto the basics and learning any language is as easy as it gets.
Great. And then I think मतलब for example just जिनको नहीं पता है कि फ्रंट एंड क्या होता है, so basically just to give an idea कि जो वेबसाइट के ऊपर आप जो भी विजुअली जो भी देखते हो that is basically फ्रंट एंड, right?
Yep.
तो मैं अगर एक फ्रंट एंड डिजाइनर बनना चाहता हूँ तो what are the skills that you would recommend someone who is into maybe engineering right now? क्योंकि I think there is a lot of languages that is coming into picture right now, and I think you, someone who has been in this industry for a long now, you might have seen various languages coming in, going out, and then everything. So एक singular path आप क्या बोलोगे लोगों को कि they should choose?
Uh, so again, in this, I would say, if you're talking about a front-end developer, uh, for them, yes, I can totally understand that they would be faced with a dilemma. Okay, what should I learn and what should I not learn? Because at this moment in 2024, there are probably around 20, front-end programming languages out there, and each one of them have their own, advantages and disadvantages. So you are spoiled for choices, but then it's like going to barbecue nation and seeing all those desserts when you can just eat one and then wonder acha kaun sa wala khau, and and feel satisfied and still not go on a guilt trip. Ye waisi wali baat hai. So uh, something that I follow is, I think a lot of developers are aware of the popular survey, uh, that is the state of JS. So there is a website called State of JS, State of CSS. People can go to these websites and they can follow the trends in the industry as to what all languages or frameworks are in demand, or they are being frequently used by developers across the world. That's how I like to keep myself updated. And apart from that, if you're already into the software industry and looking to learn something new, then you can follow the maybe you can check with your peers as to what kind of languages or frameworks they are using in their companies. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, मुझे लगता है कि जिस एनवायरनमेंट में आप हो एंड जो लैंग्वेज यूज कर रहे हो उसमें भी आपको कंटिन्यूसली लर्न एंड इनोवेट करना चाहिए, बिकॉज अपॉर्चुनिटीज बहुत होती है. No language or no framework is outdated or obsolete, and it's never a case कि आपको सब कुछ आता है उस particular language में. There is always scope to learn more. It's all about realizing and acknowledging that there is more to be done and then taking the right steps towards it.
So after engineering, how you started? Like you have started with first job as what, and then obviously the trends have been changing, right? So how you have overcome with those kind of challenges, and like you have upskilled yourself so that you can be as per the trend. So can you just tell that journey?
Yep, sure. So this is actually something that I love to talk about. Uh, I think I was lucky to get a head start during my school days when I built that production app in 2001. So I carried a little bit of experience and knowledge about web design from that time. But my first job after engineering was with Infosys, and every techie who has started with Infosys, right? They have undergone that 4-month training in Mysore, and I would still say that that 4 months, right, was one of the best 4 months of my life. वो जो मैसूर का experience था, of it was like amazing, because the entire 4 months we used to prepare to get good marks, and day in day out we were learning programming and coding, which is something that who people who are genuinely interested in writing code, right, it's like a Alice in Wonderland wala situation for them.
मैंने सुना है कि like once you enter to Infosys, still बहुत extensive training वहाँ का होता है, right? And once you get out of that 4 months का training, it gives you a good result what you are expecting. Am I right? Like this is something what I have heard.
Yes, yes, it is. It has actually changed people's lives. So I've seen people who were not at all interested in coding at all become great coders. Like I've seen people uh, do a fantastic job at like algorithm writing and then code writing, and I've also seen people learn a lot out of Infosys. The way Infosys grooms you, right, in terms of your soft skills and teaching you good habits. If on your resume as a software developer you are able to show that you have gone and training with Infosys, it's like a big plus for you, for anyone throughout your career. So yeah, I was fortunate to have that experience, and I got trained under Java, which is a backend technology. But then I think after a couple of years working with Infosys, I realized that that's not where my heart is. It's with front end, and I was actively looking for a front end opportunity. And back then, Angular had just come. So when I was with Infosys, I learned Angular. I appeared for an interview with a company, and then fortunately, I was able to crack it. And during that time, Angular was in great demand. So the hike I got that time was also very tempting for me to not take that offer. So I actually made the switch, and yeah, since then front end space has grown so much and so extensively that there has not been a single moment where I felt okay, I know everything, and there's not much to learn. uh, so since then I have evolved, like from Angular I went to React, and from React went to Next.js and micro front ends, and now again back to Angular and Node.js with my current company.
Wow. So I think you have a lot of learning curve in your entire career. So बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग होते हैं कि जिनको पता ही नहीं होता कि हम लोग सीखे कहाँ से. So do you have any advice for them, like how can you learn while you are still in the job where you are still pursuing that 9 to 6 wala career, and then where can you fit in the like courses and whatever it might be?
I think having the right attitude matters the most in the software industry or anywhere for that matter. Uh, if you realize that you need to learn, and if you realize that okay, I don't know everything, I want to learn more, you will automatically start placing yourselves around people or around things that will enable you to learn more things. So मेरे साथ भी वही था, like even when I had just 1 or 2 years of industry experience, right, I used to try and make myself a part of conversations or things that generally people of 1 or 2 years experience will avoid. Like if there was a conversation happening between my technical lead back then and my project manager, I used to still request that hey, I would like to be a part of this, if you don't mind. And going by the ethics of software industry, no one would actually mind that. Eh, Generally not, but there are always exceptions. But the what matters is that you make the effort to try and learn from every situation. So yeah, I think that is one thing that helped me. And uske alawa, if you are looking for resources, like if anyone out there is looking for uh, where should I begin, what resources should I look at, 2024 mein people are very lucky. You have AI, you have uh, you have so many e-learning platforms like Udemy, and uh, there's another one called as Coursera, and then an academy. Like there are plenty of platforms out there who are giving you certification courses for free, which we never had back then. So I think yeah, these platforms are great if you leverage them in the correct way. And few of the instructors who I love personally, one of them is Maximilian Schwarzmuller, and the other one is Andre Negwe. So both these people, they come up with fantastic courses for front-end developers.
And where the audience can find out this courses?
Yeah, their courses are there on Udemy. Some of it is also there on YouTube. And I think Andre Negwe also runs a community called as Zero to Mastery, wherein he teaches a person how to go from being a total non-programmer or a non-coding person to being a master at it. So he has a basically a course roadmap, that can help people go from zero to master in tech.
So I just wanted to add one question here, that a lot of people do purchase courses, right? But then what is the right strategy to use it? Because I think वो implement नहीं कर सकते, या somewhere they lack and they don't able to learn coding properly or learn any new language properly. So do you have any insight on that? Because उनमें से एक मैं भी हूँ कि I did a lot of these
Maybe.
Python courses and then
Maybe.
I don't remember honestly.
Or you can be.
No, so see, even I am human. मेरे से भी बहुत सारी गलतियां हुई है, and I think वो जो एक खुशी होती है ना when you buy a course, that it's like when you experience a sugar rush. Your glucose levels go up when you buy a course, and then they come crashing down 5 minutes after you have bought the course. So काफी important है to like I really thank my managers who have been with me throughout my life. I've been lucky to have been blessed with great managers who have taught me how to set up reminders, and they have given me like opportunities to do time management courses. वो करना ना, वो एक ऐसी चीज है जो हर जगह अप्लाई होगी, and you have to set up dedicated time for learning each day, even if it is just one episode which is of 10 or 15 minutes. उतना तो हम डिजर्व करते हैं and हमें करना चाहिए. Otherwise you will not have a goal. I mean, you will not be able to move towards your goal. And speaking of goal, I feel goal maybe it should be I think everyone must have heard it by now that a goal should be smart. So there is a complete abbreviation for it, but then it should be realistic and achievable, and specific होना चाहिए कि क्या करना है. So unless and until people are able to put these things down on paper, तब तक वो चीजें to be able to learn effectively, to be able to progress towards your goal is very difficult. मेरे लिए personally, anything that I'm dealing with, right, may it be problems with time management, may it be problems with something that I'm going through emotionally, or let's say having a difficult conversation, or being unable to like organize my thoughts in general, right? What I follow is write it down. It will calm down the storm in your mind by a great margin. So yeah, that's what I follow.
Great advice, because I feel like when you write, when you put down your thoughts, you get literally into it. Like मतलब आपको पूरा उसको लगता है कि हाँ कंप्लीट करके दें, लेकिन वही चीज when you see just online and वो कोर्स को बस देख रहे हैं वहाँ पे, तो maybe we try to drop out. So I totally can relate it with it, and that's how now I want to move to the another segment. I want to now understand how exactly low code platform is actually being a risk for front end developers. I have heard it multiple times, and that's how like I want to understand from you that how this myth can be cleared. Is it a myth or is it a truth?
It's a bit of both, I would say. So I think the common myth has been, or I think why this question becomes more relevant in 2024 is because of the surge of AI. I think now there is more awareness, rather, I would say, that there are low code platforms that can probably replace developers, or the need for a front end engineer as such. But the problem always with low code platforms, has been that though they give you the ability to like drag drop things and build things without writing code, customizing those apps, right, is very, very difficult. Like you can add custom event handlers, and you can add a lot of customizations, but still not being able to like fully control what goes where and how things flow in the app is still one of the biggest limitations in low code platform. And when you write everything in-house, everything from scratch, I think you have full control over what should be where and how things should flow. So even in 2050, right, I fail to see how low code platforms would be able to completely evade the uh, need for a front end developer, because you would still need someone to plug things or drag things and build in custom functionality. Abhi, a common use case is if I am ready with a particular screen, right, और अगर जब मैं इसको रिव्यू कराने जाऊंगा, प्रोडक्ट का फीडबैक आएगा कि ये इसको यहाँ कर दो, उसको वहाँ कर दो. तो वो तो कोई बंदा ही करेगा, राइट? सो या आई मीन अभी तक तो आई डोंट थिंक दैट लो कोड इज विनिंग द रेस, बट
Also, I think because I have built a lot of websites on platforms like WooCommerce, WordPress, Shopify, and these all kind of bubble and these kind of things. So I know for a fact कि जब भी आप कोई no code builder use करते हो, it makes the platform or software very heavy. And then resources required for that, for example, आपका server capacity हो गया, bandwidth हो गया, user का bandwidth हो गया, बहुत ज़्यादा consumption होता है. And I think I don't see that happening these days, that कोई नहीं कर सकता. इवन आई डोंट थिंक एआई उसको completely सॉल्व कर सकेगा. सो आई डोंट नो, बट एनी थॉट्स ऑन दैट?
yeah, you're absolutely right actually. So these things do come into the picture, and yeah, resources की भी बात, मतलब जब आप कोई external software यूज कर रहे हो, right, you are bound by its limitations, bound by its minimum requirements and all of that, all of the things that you just mentioned. But जब सारा कोड मेरे कंट्रोल में है, I can definitely make sure to tell my developers to write clean code, to make sure that the standards are followed that help us optimize the need for resources. So there is a tremendously big difference using low code versus building something in-house. And yeah, low code platforms these days come with cloud subscriptions and huge costs to the company, which may be nice if you have a ton load of money, but then that's not always the case. Companies are always looking to save cost, and trust me or not, like, spending on developers is actually cheaper than spending on low code platforms or their subscription.
And do you think it also plays a role in security, like using the code versus building it in-house does differ in terms of security of a platform?
uh, well, security is something that you could always ensure in both the worlds. In fact, low code platforms would probably should come with some of those options inbuilt. But then again, uh, if tomorrow that low code platform itself has developed some sort of vulnerability, right? So in the software world, vulnerability is something that we refer to as a malicious kind of software, or technically a virus, right? So if there is a vulnerability in the low code platform itself due to some XYZ reason, then your software itself gets impacted. So yeah, there, like I said, there are pros and cons with each of the approaches, and there are in fact companies who heavily use low code platforms. But then a few reasons why they go for a low code platform is because probably their ecosystem is built around low code platforms, and they don't mind the cost of having a low code platform there, and also the cost of training their employees on that low code platform.
From this, I am getting two questions right now. One, like in the product-led company, do you think low code can work? Because when you are working with the product marketers, you will be obviously getting multiple feedback where the optimization is required.
It depends on the philosophy of the company, actually. So when I say philosophy, right, I've been a part of, I think this is I've worked for 4 companies so far, and 3 of them have been product companies. So product companies generally, they love to build everything in-house. So even if you talk about using frameworks, right? So a lot of times product companies will go the extra mile and build their own frameworks for, let's say, communication between front end and back end. I remember in my second company, we had a requirement of live polling, live polling the data from back end to the front end. And there were a lot of standard options available out there, but then we ended up building our own framework for that, because the need was there to build such a sort of thing, because we wanted to extend the standard approach, and extending the standard approach was not easy. So we ended up building our own thing instead. So yeah, I agree with you that when you are using a low code platform as a product team, you could get bound by the boundaries of that platform, or your innovation or your limit, to which you could go in terms of building the product could be restricted by the boundaries of or the capabilities of that low code tool. But having said that, I attend a lot of conferences, and last year I was in a conference in Bangalore, and I happened to check out a low code platform stall at one of the conferences, and I did see, like, there was a lot of excitement from product company representatives for that low code platform as well. So there are companies, who do not need a lot of customizations, or who do not need, uh, you know, um, who want to just build some, let's say, internal tools. So in the software world, there are obviously customer facing apps, and there are apps that are only used by your internal office people, right? Or your internal sales team or representatives or administration. So for tools like that, right, wherein you are okay with a basic UI or with having some sort of restrictions, yeah, in those for those softwares, low code tools could come in handy, and it could save time as well. But I think for a customer facing app, uh, I would any day go for a custom built app from scratch.
So, thanks for sharing that, because this gives me the another question right now. In your intro itself, I have mentioned that your forte is into the performance optimization, right? And this is one of the very important piece of UI development. I want to understand that what are the practices what you follow as a front-end developer to do this performance optimization, because this is one piece where most of the front-end developer also get stuck, right?
Yeah.
So
Fantastic question, actually. So this is one area where I have keen interest, and I love optimizing front-end applications. It's also an area I talk about a lot in the technical conferences as well. I would say one, start with the basics. Again, going back to that point, I take a lot of interviews of front-end developers, and whenever I ask people, what are core web vitals? So a lot of front-end developers say that they have not even heard of this term. And that surprises me, because it's, there are three pillars of every front-end app's performance that are laid out by Google. And core web vitals is actually that term that encapsulates all those three principles. So I think people should start reading about core web vitals, start imbibing them into their day-to-day software development practices, because that's where, those three principles will push you in the right direction to think and reconsider as to how you are building your app. I think a lot of developers are just in a hurry to deliver things and to make their managers and product team happy. But then at the end, it ends up, returning, and like it ends up firing. How should I put it? Maybe it ends up on the wrong side of things, because when that sort of code is not maintainable, like when you put it to production, obviously when you are building something locally, you will be working with a very limited data set. You will just have, let's say, 10 or 20 users on your local application. But then when you push to production, there are millions of users. So to put your app with substandard code or with non-optimized code in an environment that is being hit by a million users is a risky proposition. And sometimes you learn it the hard way that why performance is key for any application success. But then if you ask me personally, I think core web vitals is something I follow very diligently. Apart from that, I keep profiling my application for performance for memory leaks. Again, these are two basic options that are given in the Chrome web developer tools, and the developers often forget to profile their apps for performance, for for the memory leaks. They don't check the lighthouse scores. Even if the lighthouse scores are bad, they will be like, okay, we'll come back to it after production release, which is not good. And I think apart from that, two other areas I would like to mention that, that are something that developers should start trying out and start gaining more confidence into. One is writing better unit tests, right? So unit tests is considered as a formality right now. A lot of people I interview don't write unit tests. They don't understand the importance of writing unit tests. But unit test is like, that it's like you have bought a very expensive phone, but you are carrying it without putting a cover or a screen guard on it, right? That's how that, I mean, it's simply unacceptable. It is such an important thing to do. And even for writing unit tests, there are best practices, there are memory leak considerations that people should put into place, that often doesn't happen. And the other area that I have started talking about recently is how people should focus on automating their manual processes in terms of front-end development. So, when you try to deploy your code, everything from taking your code and putting it on a server, right? All that process needs to be optimized and automated. So a lot of companies are slowly trying to go the automated way, but then that automation cycle takes about 40 minutes to 60 minutes on an average, which is a painfully slow time, and it will impact the productivity of a developer by a large extent. I worked with companies and helped them get their deployment cycle down to like 7 or 8 minutes. And some of those techniques, right, I try and talk about them in my technical talks at conferences. So there are obvious techniques out there, but then, yeah, again, having that attitude to first acknowledge that there is a problem, and the attitude to willingly look into it and contribute towards it will make things happen for you.
Perfect. I think I totally relate with this part because for my clients, I've worked across various countries' ke development teams, and I think this is the very common issue that they don't follow the standards. Secondly, they feel optimization is someone else's job. It's not my job to do. My job is just to develop and deliver. And do you feel because of lack in this particular, thought process, people are not getting the jobs, and then they are saying there is recession in market. So what is your perspective on, कि क्या अभी फ्रंट एंड डेवलपर्स के लिए मार्केट सिनेरियो बन रहा है in terms of job market and everything? And then where do you skills playing a role in this entire process?
I think, yeah, you're right. So a lot of jobs in the market are contractual. So I think in my last company, I was working with close to 20 odd developers who were working for us on contract. And which means, 6 months, every 6 months, the contract gets renewed. And if you don't perform well, obviously the company will not be continuing with you. So it is very important that you stay on your toes when you are employed with someone, and make the best out of that opportunity to not only upskill, to also get a hold of the best practices and try to deliver as much as you can. But when I say deliver as much as you can, not just blindly writing garbage, but it should be polished, and it should be written in a way that makes you proud at the end of the day that you have written something nice. And I think apart from that, another thing that all the developers should strive and do is also participate in communicating effectively. I think that plays a big role. So even if sometimes your delivery is impacted, or let's say you're not at the best of your skills, you can look for opportunities where you can communicate with the product team better, or you can communicate with your team better that, hey, I don't see this happening in the next 1 or 2 days. It will help the team realize that there are genuine challenges on the way. It would also enable team to try and lend you support, so that if you could move faster with their support, it could be done on a timely basis. Because we work I think generally most of the software teams across the world work in a 2-week sprint cycle. So in a 2-week cycle, you have to do everything, right? So the more on a timely basis you communicate, the better it will be for you. I think a lot of developers get scared that they will create a negative impression if they speak, that they're not able to get things done. But it's actually counterintuitive. If you don't speak at all, people would assume that everything is going well. So yeah, I think these are some of the things people could focus on, to stay in the game, and to first correct themselves before they start claiming that the market is not good, or companies are not going with them in their hiring process. uh, Apart from this, I think continuous learning is something that's key to staying updated with the market trends. So I think even if you're working as an Angular developer, there are companies who will definitely give you an opportunity to even apply as a React developer if your fundamentals are good. So, uh, there is no doubt about that. Uh, Even if you have one skill, even if you're an expert at one skill, you can definitely apply to another skill. So people should really feel confident about themselves and try. The keyword I would say is try. Keep trying, because uh, unless you try, you will not know, or unless you ask, you will not get what you want. It's like, जब तक बोलोगे नहीं तब तक अप्रेजल नहीं मिलेगा अच्छा. You have to ask for it.
आई थिंक आधे प्रॉब्लम तो इसी में खत्म हो जाएंगे अगर एज यू सेड कम्युनिकेशन इफेक्टिव हो जाए, प्रोडक्ट वाले को पता लग जाए कि कब मिलेगा, एंड देन डेवलपर्स गेट देयर ओन टाइम. आई थिंक हाफ ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम विल एंड देयर ओनली.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally agreed. So we are into one of the last segment of this podcast.
Start with the rapid fire.
Great.
Okay. Excited.
So, Akshay, while talking to you, I just thought like, why don't we make this particular rapid fire in such a way where I generally reach out to my front-end developers and I poke them ki why this problem came in. So I have come up with those kind of words, and I don't know how I came with this word, but I want to really ask. I don't know how this rapid fire will shape, but let's see. So.
Okay.
The first thing when I reach out to the front-end developer is syntax error.
Lint कर लो, syntax error है तो.
Okay.
Yeah.
404 brain not found. What one word come to your mind कि मतलब मुझे या तो आप बोल दो कि हाँ this is your problem, or what you will do as a front-end developer.
And that's if you want one word for it, I would say excuse. And why excuse? Because अगर 404 आ रहा है तो फ्रंट एंड डेवलपर को पता है कि वो कुछ कर नहीं सकता, तो वो बोलेगा देखो मेरे साइड से सब ठीक है, बैकएंड से प्रॉब्लम है, मैं जा रहा हूँ चाय पीने.
चेक करके आता हूँ.
Yeah.
चाय पे. हाँ, इससे मुझे दूसरा वर्ड याद आता है, कॉफी ड्रिवन डेवलपमेंट.
Wow, that is interesting. आज तक मैंने TDD सुना था, आज पहली बार CDD सुन रहा हूँ. वैसे कॉफी से आज तक CCD सुना था, बट CDD पहली बार सुन के अच्छा लगा. I think बहुत जरूरी है. So most of the developers, I don't know, for some weird reason we love working during night time. सुबह नहीं होता, हम बहुत लेजी होते हैं. जब किसी भी फ्रंट एंड किसी भी सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपर से ही पूछ लोगे ना, पीपल विल वेक अप राइट एट द टाइम ऑफ देयर स्क्रम कॉल. अगर सुबह 11 बजे होगा तो 11:02 पे उठेंगे और 11:05 पे वो नींद में आएंगे कि हाय हेलो. एंड फॉर्चून मतलब पूरा दिन 2-3 घंटे तो बस एडजस्ट होने में लग जाता है, और फिर एट द एंड होता है कि चलो अब थोड़ा काम कर लेते हैं. जब शाम की होती है ना प्रोडक्ट टीम के साथ कॉल, तब कि
बात है काम.
Now you know why they need coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I can understand copy driven development, what it exactly it is.
Yeah.
Okay, fuzzy logic.
फजी लॉजिक, ये तो मुझे याद दिला रहा है कि किसी और का कोड है, अगर मैं उस पर काम कर रहा हूँ तो फजी लॉजिक. बिकॉज 90% ऑफ द टाइम्स अगर मैं किसी और का कोड ठीक कर रहा हूँ ना, मुझे उसका कोड समझ में ही नहीं आता. एंड इफ इट इज 90% of the times वो documented होता ही नहीं अच्छे से कि ये code कर क्या रहा है. तो that's when I feel fuzzy logic है भाई, कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा.
Great. I want to add a few infinite loop.
हाँ, infinite loop, या ये तो मैं फेस कर चुका हूँ, प्रोडक्शन पे फेस कर चुका हूँ. लाइक one of my developers they forgot to kill a loop and फिर वो क्रैश हो गई थी वेबसाइट. बट अगर सॉफ्टवेयर इंडस्ट्री में पूछोगे तो आई वुड से स्क्रम मास्टर हो सकता है. स्क्रम मास्टर इज इनफाइनाइट लूप बिकॉज बेचारे इनफाइनाइटली पूछते रहते हैं कहाँ पहुंचा ये, हुआ कि नहीं हुआ, हुआ कि नहीं हुआ. सो या इट रिमाइंड्स मी ऑफ स्क्रम मास्टर्स.
Zombie code.
Zombie code, I think same as fuzzy logic, code that I don't understand. Or that,
Okay.
or probably code that I wrote like 7-8 years back, and I don't remember कि ये code करता क्या था. So code that comes back to haunt me.
Great. And then any best language that you can suggest, like this is the best language to learn in 2024?
JavaScript.
Great. Node.js, you mean, or general JavaScript?
I am a fundamentals person, so
Okay.
in this family tree, right? अगर 20 grandchildren है तो JavaScript is the grandfather of great grandfather of all of them. So just learn the basics and yeah.
And now coming to more of your interest, that is music. So what do you think of when you hear word music?
Music, I think, yeah, just one thing that I want to probably publish my own song someday.
Wow. Piano?
Piano reminds me of my grandfather. I think why? Because he himself was a harmonium player, and I think शायद उनके ही genes मुझे pass on हुए हैं in terms of music.
Wonderful. So that's what we have for this podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think people might have learned a lot about front-end development and career associated with it now. But any final thoughts either you or Prachi would like to share, please feel free to share.
No, this particular podcast was very intriguing for me. Basically, I have learned multiple things out of it, especially able to understand how exactly low code and front end developer can differentiate. I was knowing optimization is one of the things, but obviously there are multiple other things also which bear link. So thanks a lot for sharing. Thanks for being here. I believe it was just a one call away. We had a discussion and we are in this podcast today. So thanks a lot for spending out your time for today's podcast.
Pleasure was all mine. I had a fun time interacting with you guys, and I think some of the questions were really, they put me into an infinite loop of thoughts, I would say. So it was nice to go into the depths of what I do and what we do in the software world. I'm sure, and I hope a lot of people would benefit from our conversation. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today for this wonderful session. If anyone is interested in learning more about front-end development, we are putting down Akshay's LinkedIn profile link, so you can approach him, learn more about this particular thing. And if you like this podcast, do hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, do subscribe this. And thank you for watching. See you. Bye-bye in next episode.